Good evening. This is the Dean of All Things Spicy with Conjured Vapors Peppers, and I'm here to do a pepper review for you. So this is a Salatiga Variegated Orange, except the pods are red, F6. So I grew this in a 20-ounce water bottle, hydroponically, and eventually I'll show you guys a video on how to do this. But you can see videos from the person that I learned them from, and I will link his description in the comment box below, in the description box below. So his name is King Star, and I absolutely love it. You know, people are always saying, well, I don't grow peppers. I don't have any space. I don't have any room. These were grown on my windowsill in a south-facing window. So I think you have room. I really do. But anyway, the plant's not too gorgeous right now because it has both nitrogen and magnesium deficiency, which is fine. You know, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right pods on here for something growing on my windowsill. I'm fine with that. So it's on its last legs, and that's fine. But anyway, let's check this pepper out. See how she looks, see how she tastes. So usually when I grow in these 20-ounce water bottles, I keep them about this tall, and I just keep clipping the top, just keep topping it, just keep topping it, just keep topping it, and it'll branch out instead of growing tall and lanky like it is right now. When it's tall and lanky like this, it's very top heavy, especially because it's in 3/4 of a 20-ounce water bottle. But anyway, again, I'll link the description down below for King Star. He's probably one of the premier reviewers out there. If you've never watched his videos, I highly suggest that you do so. He has great ideas for a pseudo for a great mini hydroponic system. Yeah, check this pepper out. So Salatiga Variegated Orange F6. Directly off the plant. All right, I'll set it over there out of the way so it doesn't fall over. Let's cut her open with my handy dandy knife. See what she looks like on the inside. Man, I cannot talk today. I don't know why. Yeah. Who needs to talk, right? Doesn't smell like much on the blade. That's what she looks like on the inside. So the plant, when it was young, was actually quite pretty. It had a little bit of variegated foliage. You know, if it's something I've never grown before, I like to grow at my windowsill. See if it's something I want to grow outside in a future year. Sweet. Very sweet. That's sweet. Try another one. Salatiga Variegated Orange. Supposed to be orange anyway, but they're red. A lot of times, I think when somebody names something an orange, what they're doing is they're pulling it off the plant too early. It's not fully ripened yet. Um, but there is also the idea that red tends to be a dominant color. And so things that are orange, things that are peach, things that are things that are, other colors other than red, future generations can always revert back to the red phenotype. Again, extremely sweet. Possibly 20,000 Scoville, maybe 30. It's funny. Most things that are 25 to 30,000 always hit you in the tongue. This one didn't. It kind of got me in the throat a little bit. But it's so sweet. Tastes like cherries. I'm not joking either. It really tastes like cherries. That's a good pepper. And so the peppers that I've been growing with this mini hydroponic system, again, 3/4 of a 20-ounce water bottle, haven't been very hot. So I don't know if this is a naturally 20 to 30,000 Scoville heat pepper, or if it's just the fact that maybe my nutrients aren't causing them to be hot enough. Don't know. But this is absolutely one I'll be excited to grow outside. The last one that I reviewed for my hydroponic grow, I wasn't super excited to grow outside, and that's a pepper from the country of Georgia. I'll probably still grow that one. I did just sprout another one for hydroponic growing. That exact pepper, the Georgia pepper. I don't know what it's called. It's from the country of Georgia. But this one, I'm absolutely going to grow it outside. I'm really, really excited to see if this is 15, 20, 25, 30,000. But anyway, so because that was very mild, I had a feeling it would be. So I'm going to eat another pepper. So this is Alpha 1 from a grower and a hybridizer by the name of Kevin Bain. And I'm not sure if you can still get the seeds from there, but you can get the seeds from the Experimental Farm Network. Just Google Experimental Farm Network. And so he said it's an extremely low filial. Does that mean F1? Does that mean F2? I don't know. He also said that there were 4 peppers in this cross. And so last year, when I grew these seeds, and these are from the exact same seeds, this is not the next filial generation, this is the original seeds. Last year, when I grew this pepper, it was scorchingly hot. It was probably the hottest pepper I had ever eaten at the time. And when I told Kevin about it, first she said that phenotype does not seem like something that should have come from those genetics. And then he was also extremely surprised to hear about the heat level. So I have reviewed one of these earlier this year, but it was a very, very, very beginning of the year pod. It was the first pod off the plant. And usually those first pods off the plant are not intensely hot. So I'm curious if this one's going to be scorching like last year. Let's cut her open and see what she looks like. Of course, I am using my handy dandy knife. That way you can see. Isn't she pretty? Sorry, got a lot of capsaicin on there. I need to clean her off. Anyway, that's the inside of the Alpha 1. Look at that cut. Right down the center of that stinger. Ain't it great? I almost use those as tweezers. Not quite because it's curved, but anyway. Very gentle Chinense smell. Get into it, see what she tastes like. So, the very beginning of the chew was fruity. Not super sweet, but fruity. Sorry, a lot of seeds. And then it moved to a mixture both bitter and floral. Probably a 2 or 3 out of 10 on both. The heat is still climbing. Can't tell you where it resides yet. But the burn is whole mouth, literally, even underneath my tongue. Making it a little hard to talk. Scorchingly hot pepper. Probably the hottest pepper I've eaten in at least a month. It's not really hitting my throat very hard, but the whole mouth is burning. Pretty intensely burning, actually. I do have a tear forming. And for me to have a tear forming out of one pod, that says a lot about that pod. So it still hasn't peaked. A very, very, very long climb. Nose is running. Tears forming. More than one tear is forming. I think it's starting to peak, maybe. It's quite a tasty pod, actually. But again, it's a very, very, very early filial generation. Whether F1 or F2, I'm not sure. So if I save the seeds from this pod, well, not that pod because I just ate it, but I do have a couple others that came off the plant. Save those seeds, and I grow out the following filial generation. If this was an F1, those F2 seeds, if I plant out 20, 30 plants, I'm going to probably get a completely different phenotype on every single plant. If this was an F2, then I plant out 20, 30 seeds, 20, 30 plants. Oh, it's still burning. Then most likely they're going to look somewhat similar to what I just ate. Now, every single phenotype on this plant was different. I have some with stingers, some without stingers, some that are, wrinkled, some that aren't. Anyway, sorry, my nose is really going. So I'm thinking the heat level on this pepper is about 1.75 million, maybe 1.8 million, perhaps higher. I do feel it in my chest. Not sure if I'm going to feel it in my gut, but I do feel it in my chest. This is an excellent pepper, and it is super, super hot. I haven't had a tear fall yet, but my eyes are absolutely glassy. But anyway, heat levels, the heat's going back down now. The burn is still all over my mouth. Hardly anything in the throat, like I said previously. Anyway, so that was the Alpha 1 from Kevin Bain. So this video is highlighting King Star. Like I said, he's the one that I learned how to grow hydroponically in 20-ounce water bottles. Like I said, even if you live in a small flat, a small apartment, you can do this. It's easy. Just get you some hydroponic nutrients. Whether you want to do master blend, whether you want to do general hydroponics. Personally, I use general hydroponics for this. Master blend, I've heard, is a lot better. But general hydroponics works for me. Now, it won't work for me to grow 2 or 3 generations, right? It's going to give me one good flush. And then if I want a second flush, then I have to cut it back. So what you do is you take 1, 2, 3, 4 nodes, and then you cut within a quarter of an inch of that 4th node, and you make a very, very, very clean cut. And then it'll start to branch out again from those 3 nodes below, and possibly from that 4th node too, if you don't cut too close to that node. And then you have a whole new plant starting to grow. And that's probably what I'm going to do with this. I'm probably going to take these peppers off. I'm going to save the seeds from these peppers. I'm going to cut it back to the 4th node and see if it'll regrow. Now, when you do that, right now I have these plants on a bloom nutrient, a bloom heavy nutrient. Sorry, my nose is still going from that Alpha 1. And now it's in my throat. Told you this is a hot pod. It's not quite chocolate primatali hot, but it's hot. It's hotter than a 7-pot primo. It's hotter than a Reaper. It's hot, very hot, scorching. But anyway, when, like right now, I have this on a very heavy bloom nutrient. When I cut it back to that 4th node, I'm going to have to go back to some pretty heavy nitrogen, more of a growth nutrient. So if you use general hydroponics, it comes with 3 bottles. And then depending on the ratios of how many teaspoons you put in a gallon, it might be nitrogen heavy, it might be phosphorus and potassium heavy. So that you're either growing the plant or you're letting it flower and bloom and produce fruit. So when I cut it back, I'll change it from the bloom back to the nitrogen to get it to grow more. But anyway, that was the Salatiga Variegated Orange F6 and Alpha 1, which is probably an F1 or an F2. And I'll be excited to grow out the next generation of seeds. Last year I grew the original seeds. This year I grew the original seeds. Next year I'll probably grow both the original seeds and the following generation because I really, really like this pod. For culinary use for this pepper, because of the sweetness at the the fruitiness at the very beginning, and then moving into both bitter and floral, I would say this would be good with noodle dishes. Just about any kind of noodles. Me personally, I would probably do it with like a chicken Florentine. Yeah, I think it would be really good with that. But anyway, This is the Dean of All Things Spicy with Conjured Vapors Peppers. Have a beautiful night. I'm out.